Hello everybody, it is AM Satellite and today I'm here with another League of Legends video. This time it's gonna be Garen versus Riven. I have been requested to post a video about this lane and I honestly feel very guilty for posting this one because it was a very short game. They surrendered at 20 and the Riven was nothing. She kinda sucked. So there's no really a big example right here, but I haven't met a lot of Rivens lately, which is weird because she used to be very overplayed. But this is a situation. I had this video recorded, and there are some of the tricks that you can use against her. So thought I might as well post it. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, I have a very bad cold, and my voice is kind of leaving me. So I thought at first, well, maybe I'm gonna wait for another day before I make the video and before I commentate. But then I thought, what if my voice just goes even lower and I can't do that? I have had a decent frequency lately and I would have totally minded losing that because of a fucking cold. So here I am making the video trying to talk normally, even though it's not really working out that well, but there we are. And here are some tips and tricks on how to beat Riven. Now, you are her main counter. So, you counter her and she has trouble dealing with you because you are insanely tanky and your base damage is pretty similar to hers. Except she will boost that and we will boost our defenses. So on level 1 you can kinda bully her, like you have to limit yourself to auto attack Q or just Q if you don't feel like you wanna get close to her with an auto attack. Sometimes good Rivens will prevent you from being able to auto attack them, so you can just start with your Q. This one here, as I said, is not a particularly good one, so I'm just using auto attack Q combo easily. But overall, her level 1, she has no shield. Like I haven't really ever seen any Riven start with her shield at level 1. And if she does, that's kind of ruined for you because you have to wait for her to use it before you can use your Q. But level 1, you just basically auto attack and Q, and she can't do a shit about it because after you silence her, she's fucking silenced for 1.5 seconds, and she can't chain her Q combo because you're running away. Level 2, she's probably gonna get her shield unless she's stupid, but this one was bad but not stupid enough to get her W rather than her shield, because if she gets her W, it's a sure kill. You can just go all in on her with Q and E and she will take a huge amount of damage. If she gets her shield, and this rule applies in every level apart, like after level 2, you absolutely have to wait for a shield before you go in. Now, why am I saying this? What can happen is she uses her shield. When you start using Q, she can use her shield, and then as soon as you get close to her, she stuns you, which means that you don't deal any damage because she mitigates it with her shield. And then you're stunned, so you can't start spinning, and she can use her combo because while you're stunned, your silence will finish. She's going to be able to use her abilities again, so while you're stunned, she can use her combo, her Q combo, to just back off, and you can't do anything. All you're left with is your W in case she tries to trade back, which you can use, of course, if she does try to trade back. But, we don't want that, and good Rivens will abuse this power with their shield and their W. So what we want to do is we want to wait for her to use her shield, and every time she does it, we punish her, because when her shield is off, she has to take damage from silence, and even if she stuns you and manages to avoid taking damage for judgment from your E, you still did a lot of damage with your Q, and she is silenced, so she can't trade back. It's free damage. You can consider it either a harass or a poke, even though it's kind of not really an ability for poking slash harassing, but you can count that as it if she doesn't manage to trade back, which is exactly what we want to make her do. So yeah, and that's really the core of this lane. Bait her shield out. I don't care how. You can kind of auto attack her if you manage to, or you can just activate your Q, but then you don't finish it. You just wait for her to use her shield, and then you go back into her, even though she's probably gonna try dodging it. But sometimes you may just pull it off, and you can do that. You can just bait her shield out, and once her shield is gone, she's basically a secure kill, or well, at least she's going to have to either go back or just stay back in her under turret for 3 fucking hours using her health potions to sustain all the way back. And in the meanwhile, you're going to sustain with your own passive. So yeah. Now onto the build. there's nothing really special going on about it. It's, you know, as usual, you guys know, tank Garen is just a great idea. It's always been a great idea, and post the patch, post the buff, it stays a great idea because, by the way, buff, I'm referring to the Juggernaut update as a buff because we're gonna talk about this in a little bit, but I consider it a buff. So whenever I talk about the buff, it's this, it's the Juggernaut update. All right, so. Tanky Garen is always the best choice, because especially with the new villain mechanic, your late game damage is just insane, and even against the people who are non-villain, your late game damage is just bullshit at this time. So it's you know, it's really the best idea is always to build defenses, and in this lane particularly, because what Riven does is she builds damage. That's what Riven does. She always builds damage, even if she's losing, because Tank Riven does not exist. Bruiser Riven can exist, but it's not worth it because she's still going to die to you anyway. So she builds damage, and you build a tankiness. Now, compare, stack your tankiness from items with the one you get from Courage. You know, the stacks you get from your passive, from the new Courage's passive. And you will turn up next to unkillable for her, because Riven relies a lot on her burst. She does have the escape from her shield, but once her burst is over, she's really a sitting duck. She's really easy to kill for pretty much anyone, especially you, because you have a tool that is amazing, and that is silence. Now it's got nerfed. It only lasts for 1.5 seconds at all ranks, but it's still ridiculous. It's one of the best CCs in the game, especially against casters. So if Riven by any means manages to pull off a combo on you, you can just silence her and beat the shit out of her anyway, and you're gonna win because you deal more damage to her than she deals to you. There is only one small deal, and that's her ultimate. When she activates her ultimate, all her damage gets a huge boost, and she earns a finisher and execute similar to yours because it scales from the enemy's missing health, but you know, it's kind of a skill shot, even though it's AoE, so I've never really considered it too hard to land because I play Riven a little bit and I honestly don't really find it so hard to land anyway. It travels a little slow, but I mean, unless the enemy has gotten flash or any other dashing ability, it's pretty hard to miss. So yeah. Now with that being said, once she gets to level 6, there's a few situations that can happen. Now, if you have an advantage over confident Rivens, will just turn on their ultimates and try to all-in you. Now, provided you built enough armor, that's not gonna be enough. They can get you very, very low because their damage is really high, but they shouldn't manage to kill you unless they have ignite or they get ganked, because you're too tanky for one full burst, even with their ultimate, to kill you. She can do 2 bursts and that can kill you, but you're not gonna let her, obviously, because you are smart. So if she turns her ultimate on first, you can either trade back, trying to obviously keep trying to avoid hitting her while her shield is active, because you know that's a big disadvantage to you for the reasons I explained earlier. Or you can just back off. Now, backing off against Riven is definitely possible. She only has 1 CC, and that's the stun. Doesn't really last a long time, and once it's off, you can just use your Q to run away. Now she is able to, of course, use her combo to keep following you and all that, but you should be able to manage to back off. So you can either back off if you feel like you don't have enough armor, which you should have, but there are situations, maybe you didn't back like me in this case, like I only had a cloth armor. So if this Riven were a little smarter, she would have been able to just ult me and kill me because I had only a very low amount of armor. Now I'm going to go back in lane with a fucking chain vest plus my stacks, and I'm building towards Mercury's threads to reduce her stun's duration. So I'm basically gonna turn her into a useless champion for practically the rest of the game. So she wasn't really smart. But many overconfident Ravens, even if they are at a disadvantage and you have a lot of armor, they will still try to all-in you, and they will probably fail, which is what you want to do, what you want to make her do. Now with that being said, there's another possibility, and I have to consider that because I'm trying to help you guys better understand what you gotta do in different situations. So if the enemy Riven is ahead of you, then when she turns on her ultimate, you might be into big trouble, because her ultimate deals a lot of damage, and if you don't have a chain vest and maybe another cloth armor if you're behind, you may very well get snowballed, which means you have to wait for her to make a mistake. And, like, do not start a trade unless she used her shield. That's the rule. Like, it counts when you're ahead, it counts when you're behind. Just don't start a trade if she has her shield, because she can just turn it all the way back to you. But, you know, now you guys may be wondering, well, if this is so important, if managing to dodge, you know, her shield, so to say, is so important, why do people say Garen versus Riven is an insanely easy lane? And why do they say you counter her? You counter her because she's an AD caster and you have silence, and because you're tanky and you deal a lot of damage from your base stats. But, you know, overall the lane can go either way because it's skill based, in my opinion. Like, if the Riven is good, she can abuse her abilities and basically make you next to useless because she can prevent you from dealing damage, the ways I told you earlier. So I would always advise to wait for a shield to be out of the way before you start a trade. Alright? And also, if you can, another thing you can do is you could wait for her to use her first Q on you and then silence. Because sometimes, as they're chaining their, like they're doing their animation canceling with the Q, I have seen a few Rivens failing the shield and getting hit by silence because, you know, they're too busy focusing on the combo from her you know, animation canceling and that kind of stuff. So, you know, you can probably just try that out. If after all you have no mana, so it's worth trying, and you're tanky enough for, you know, taking a burst if you fail, so you can try that out too. But yeah, once you get level 6, the lane is relatively easy. Ignite can be very useless if she manages to use her shield properly once you turn it on, which means that you absolutely have to use your ultimate at the very proper time, like, and leave her with just less than 100 health for Ignite to kill, so that even if she mitigates like 3 ticks of Ignite, the remaining 2 will kill her. Teleport can be picked in this lane because she doesn't really have the power to snowball you if you are smart, and, you know, you may not need Ignite for, you know, the extra damage, because she's really squishy. Unless she builds the Black Lever. This one's building the Black Lever, and, you know, she's turning a little more bruiser, kind of like. But honestly, I never really found that to be that great on Riven. I honestly would prefer building a Hydra first anyway, but ultimately I'm not a Riven player, so I will never try to give you tips on other champions that I don't master. So there's that, and I think there's pretty much everything I had to cover on this matchup. Because after all, you know, avoid hitting her while she still has her shield, because she can just, you know, turn the trade on you. And if she ults, choose carefully, like, watch your surroundings. If you have bushes you can use to kind of avoid her basic attacks, and if you can screw her combo up, see if she has her shield, if you can just, you know, manage to avoid the, like, once she ults, she still has her shield. Sometimes they will use it to get close to you, and even if that happens, you can probably trade back even if she ults. And, you know, as you can see, she's ulting now. Or you can do another thing. There's another tip I got for you. You can bait her ultimate by basically faking a mistake. Like, I tried to flash there to dodge her ultimate. Normally I pull these kind of things off, but I didn't manage in that case. And so what you can do is either tower diver, which, you know, will make her either panic or just feel like, okay, he's tower diving me, I'm gonna use my ultimate and screw his face. And, you know, that could happen, and, you know, you basically bait her ultimate, so you gotta make a mistake or tower dive in a spot in which you can avoid like, you can manage to back off once you did that. So you can fake a mistake and bait her ultimate, and then you either back off or you simply kill her, and because you have an advantage. Because most Ravens, when they ult, they are very anxious. You know, they are really, all they care about is like, oh my god, I absolutely have to get him low enough so that my wind slash can kill him. And you know, that will make her really panic. And if you manage to abuse the panic she gets, the anxiousness she gets, you are going to get a big advantage in terms of psychology and obviously in the lane. So you can bait her ultimate that way, or simply, you know, wait for her to use it, because Riven players tend to be overconfident, especially at elos like mine. I am gold 5 at the moment, and, you know, in gold elo, pretty much every single Riven is overconfident. She feels like she's dominating the top lane, and I honestly find Riven to not be that great of a king. of a queen of the top lane anymore, but most people still think she is, so whatever, I'm just beating their asses anyway, so I don't care. But yeah, I'm sorry if the video didn't really provide that much of a help. Like, overall, this Riven let me do everything I needed, and you know, every single time, as you guys saw, every single time she used her shield, I would go in. Like, even if she were under a turret, like every time she uses her shield, that's your time to shine. Because you can silence her, deal a lot of damage, and take close to none with your W. Because you know, you can activate it and you get a big reduction. And you know, overall, it's an easy lane. But you have to be smart. Like, it's not like it's an easy lane like Lee Sin that you can do. Like, you can just go in every time you want, and he's practically useless against you. But or Yasuo too. Once you get a little bit of armor, he becomes useless. Riven kind of always is a little dangerous because of the boost she gets in damage with her ultimate. And because of the shield and the stun, you know, it's a pretty annoying thing, but it's still a relatively easy lane as long as you use your brain every time you go in, because you know, she's kind of a brain master as a champion, so we want to be smarter than the enemy player. Alright, so with that being said, that pretty much sums it up for the lane and how to beat Riven kind of thing. There are a few more minutes in this video. As I said, it's a very short one, and honestly I don't mind it finishing earlier because my voice is kind of abandoning me and I really feel bad, so sorry for this video's quality being a little lower than usual, but there are a couple of more things that I absolutely have to address. And we're gonna begin with I'm sorry, I'm forgetting things. Let's just talk about first the Juggernaut update. Now I'm gonna die here because fucking Nocturne. Can't kite Nocturne. But the Juggernaut update. Is it a buff or a nerf? My guide extensively says like what I think about this. But if I have to like make a little bit of a synthesis very quick on what I think about this update, I honestly believe the update is a huge buff to Garen, cause his laning phase gets a little slower, like all the way to level 4. You are actually a weaker Garen. Like if old Garen were to fight against new Garen, it would have an advantage all the way to level 4 and 5. After that happened, Riven is probably gonna rage quit after that. But after that happens, after level 4 and 5, new Garen turns better, because if you manage to use your E on isolated targets, you get a huge boost in damage, and it deals more damage than it used to deal in the past, so you can consider that a buff. Also, your W's passive, it used to give you 20% extra armor magic resist, which is very nice. Like, you just buy cloth armor and it turns into 94 armor or something like that. And you can't do this anymore, but you can farm your way up to there, and if you make a few maths calculations, the 30 bonus armor and magic resist is actually better than the passive boost you used to get in late game and also in laning phase, because the passive boost was 20% of all bonus armor and magic resist. So like, it's about 10-12 armor and extra. Like, if you built armor, you would get 12, like 10-12 extra armor, which is a good amount, but you can get all the way to 15 extra armor and magic resist. Even if you're not building magic resist, you still get the boost, because it's how the new passive works. So you get the boost by just farming, and it's not a big deal, because while you farm and get kills in the top lane, you're going to turn tanky. So overall, if you are skilled enough, not just in farming, but more like dominating the lane, and it's still very easy with Garen, you can really get a huge boost, just like old times. Except now you have a huge amount of damage to go with, and items that boost both your defenses and your damage by a lot. So yeah, that's pretty damn good. Now, that's an all-in that I completely failed, because yeah, she stunned me, but if I didn't get stunned, that would have been a huge nice kill, but too bad I failed there. But yeah, so with that being said, you guys wanted to know what I thought about this update, and I honestly believe the update is a huge buff to Garen, and I really like it. The only thing that I really miss, and I will miss forever, is my W's active tenacity. Now that the video is almost over, I have a small and quick question for you guys. Now, university is going to start very soon, which means my time is going to completely go slim. Now, because I have had this nice frequency all the way to now, I want to keep it, but to do that, I need you guys to answer a question in the comment section down below. Would you guys like me to make highlights videos with some music on them, edited and kind of stuff like that, for, matchups that I have already explained? Like, if I get another Garen versus Gangplank video, instead of doing a commentary, I'm going to cut the parts in which there's nothing to see and highlight the best moments and put some music on it. Please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.